So, millions of Americans are driving home from their July 4th weekend today.
Yeah, probably cranking up the AC in their cars.
Right, exactly. And they're totally blissfully unaware that, a single complex AI query they run on their phone tomorrow morning is going to take like up to 10 times more electricity than a standard internet search.
It's pretty wild when you actually put a number on it.
It really is. And, you're probably getting ready to transition back to your normal routine right now. But the reality is the normal routine you're returning to, the grid you rely on, and really the whole structure of our economy, it's quietly buckling under the weight of this massive rewiring.
Yeah, it is a phenomenal hidden narrative. I mean, when you look past the immediate weekend headlines about holiday travel delays or the summer movie box office, there is a profound structural shift happening right beneath our feet.
Absolutely.
We are officially transitioning out of this period of flashy, chaotic technological experimentation, and we're stepping into a very gritty, infrastructure-heavy era of, well, real-world execution.
And that is exactly what we are focusing on today. We're pulling from the 6 a.m. news brief from the Daily Tech Reader, which offers this incredible wide-angle snapshot of global news, tech, and finance for today, July 5th, 2026.
It's a really dense brief today.
Super dense. And our mission for this deep dive is to synthesize all of this source material. We want to figure out how these seemingly disconnected pieces, from AI data centers draining the power grid to geopolitical peace talks in the Middle East, are actually telling one unified story about the next decade.
Which is a huge task, but a fun one.
Oh, totally. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with what happens tomorrow morning when everyone actually gets back to the office. Because the sources are making it very clear that the nature of white-collar work has fundamentally changed over the last couple of years.
Dramatically, yeah. If you look at the enterprise tech sector right now, the narrative is completely different from what it was in, say, 2023 or 2024.
Oh, yeah, it was the Wild West back then.
Exactly. A year or two ago, artificial intelligence was this shiny emerging trend. Companies were throwing massive budgets at it just to see what would stick. They just wanted the cool demo.
Right. And now?
Now, the sources show that organizations are aggressively demanding measurable return on investment. They're prioritizing operational reliability over just pure experimentation.
It sounds like AI has moved from the dot-com boom phase of, throwing shiny things at the wall to the indoor plumbing phase. It's not glamorous anymore. We just expect it to work without leaking.
Yes. I love that framing because what's fascinating here is how that indoor plumbing reality actually changes corporate behavior. Yeah. When AI becomes core business infrastructure, the novelty just wears off.
Yeah, it just becomes a tool.
Right. The sources note that multimodal AI capabilities, meaning systems that can seamlessly process text, audio, and video all at the same time, are just standard features now. AI agents embedded in production workflows, AI coding assistants writing half the boilerplate code for developers, these aren't experiments anymore.
They're just the baseline. Wait, let me stop you there for a second because I want to make sure we're clear on what an AI agent in a production workflow actually means. We aren't just talking about a chatbot where you type a question and get an answer, right?
No, exactly. An AI agent actually takes action.
Okay.
So instead of you asking an AI to draft an email that you then manually send, an agent in a corporate workflow might automatically monitor inventory levels, realize a part is missing, draft a purchase order, cross-reference it with the supplier's pricing, and then send the request to a human manager for a single-click approval.
Wow.
Yeah, it executes multi-step tasks.
Yeah.
But because this is now utility-grade technology directly tied to a company's bottom line, the margin for error is basically zero.
Right, because you can't just have an AI hallucinate a purchase order for like 1 million office chairs and automatically send it to a supplier.
Exactly. And that is why we are seeing AI governance platforms rapidly maturing. Governance used to be kind of an afterthought, but now it's the primary focus.
Makes sense.
Companies need systems that monitor the AI, audit its decisions, and guarantee data privacy. The competition in tech right now isn't about who has the smartest AI. It's about who has the most reliable, cost-efficient, and secure AI.
Which perfectly explains the massive shift in hiring that the Daily Tech Reader highlights. The brief shows that skills-based hiring is expanding rapidly right now.
It's everywhere.
But it's not just a gold rush for hardcore computer scientists building massive language models from scratch anymore. The demand is shifting toward people who know how to manage, oversee, and, continuously learn alongside these systems.
Because human oversight remains absolutely essential. You need employees with the critical thinking skills to look at an AI agent's output and say, oh, wait, this doesn't make logical sense for our business.
Right, so the technical skills are almost secondary to the ability to manage the tools effectively.
Precisely.
Okay, I follow the logic on the software and the workforce side. But if AI is the new indoor plumbing, it requires massive physical pipes.
It's heavy pipe.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. I'm stuck on this idea of AI physically straining the power grid. Because for years, we've been told that the cloud is this weightless, invisible thing.
Right, out in the ether somewhere.
Yeah. And we've also been told that newer microchips are vastly more energy efficient. So why is the physical grid suddenly screaming for help? Is the software just getting heavier faster than the hardware gets efficient?
That is precisely what is happening. There's a concept in economics called Jevons paradox. It's when technological progress makes something more efficient, we just end up using way more of it, so total consumption actually goes up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, individual chips are more efficient.
Yeah.
But the sheer volume of processing required for AI is astronomical. Traditional cloud computing was mostly about data storage and retrieval.
Like you search for a file, a server finds it and sends it back.
Right. But AI doesn't just retrieve data. It constantly calculates, predicts, and generates new data. It requires banks of highly specialized processors running at maximum capacity around the clock.
And that generates heat.
A lot of heat.
Which means you need massive cooling systems, which require even more power.
Exactly. Which brings us to the collision with physical reality. Right now, as people are driving home from their holiday weekends, the summer heat is actively stressing electrical grids across several regions in the US, Europe, and Asia.
Because people are running their air conditioners at full blast.
Exactly. Now force that already stressed aging grid to suddenly power these sprawling, energy-hungry AI data centers.
Yikes.
Yeah. We're talking about a long-term surge in electricity demand that utility companies just did not forecast and are currently struggling to meet.
Think of the current electrical grid like a two-lane highway built for daily commuters. And suddenly, AI data centers are acting like fleets of massive 18-wheelers entering the highway at all hours of the day and night. We don't just need better traffic lights, we need to pour entirely new concrete.
That is a perfect analogy, and that tension is exactly why infrastructure investment is currently the absolute center of enterprise IT spending. You cannot run an advanced digital transformation on a 20th century power grid.
You just can't.
So we're seeing huge capital investments flowing directly into physical infrastructure. Grid modernization projects are expanding nationwide. Battery storage deployment is growing rapidly to try and capture excess energy for peak times.
But the sources also specifically highlight a renewed policy attention on nuclear energy.
Yes.
Why the sudden pivot back to nuclear when we've been talking about wind and solar for, like, decades?
Because it's something called baseload power.
Okay, what's that?
Well, wind and solar are fantastic, but they're intermittent. They go to sleep when the sun sets or the wind dies down. A data center running complex AI workflows cannot go to sleep.
It needs a constant, massive, uninterrupted flow of electricity, like a reliable heartbeat for the grid.
Exactly. Nuclear power provides that heavy, consistent baseload power without carbon emissions. This isn't just a tech story anymore, it is a heavy industrial story.
But hold on, if we are pouring concrete, building nuclear plants, expanding the grid, and manufacturing advanced semiconductors domestically, which the sources note is a major ongoing project, we can't do that in a vacuum.
No, definitely not.
You need transformers, you need copper, you need rare earth metals. Are we just solving a digital bottleneck by creating a massive physical supply chain bottleneck? Because looking at the global chessboard and the news brief right now, stable is none of the word I would use to describe international trade.
You've hit on the exact friction point of this new era. Securing the physical materials for this infrastructure boom requires international stability, but we are navigating a very complex split-screen reality right now.
The brief is honestly a bit dizzying to read. On one hand, you have signs of global unity and steady commerce. The World Cup is happening, drawing massive shared attention across borders. Commercial shipping through international sea lanes remains active.
And if we look at the Middle East, diplomacy is actually keeping energy markets relatively stable.
Right.
The sources point to the tentative U.S.-Iran peace agreement regarding the Strait of Hormuz that was established back in May of this year. That is a critical maritime choke point for global oil and liquefied natural gas. So keeping it open and stable is vital for all this industrial expansion we're talking about.
Right. But then you flip the page in the briefing, and there is deep ongoing friction. Ukraine and Russia are still engaged in long-range military operations, keeping NATO highly vigilant and European markets on edge.
Yes.
And it's not just overseas. We have significant domestic security friction. Federal authorities just uncovered a 2,000-foot drug tunnel connecting Mexico to the U.S. last month, highlighting persistent vulnerabilities right at our own physical borders.
So what does this all mean? We're building these futuristic AI and quantum computing systems at home, but our physical economy is still entirely tethered to choke points like Strait of Hormuz, European land wars, and physical border security.
Exactly. So how do global markets manage to remain what the daily tech reader calls cautiously constructive amidst all this friction?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it comes down to a fundamental shift in how capital is allocated. Governments and investors are no longer operating under the assumption of a perfectly smooth, borderless global market.
Okay.
The era of pure globalization, where you just manufactured wherever labor was cheapest, is pretty much over. We're now in an era where nations are actively balancing economic growth with national security.
Meaning they are heavily hedging their bets.
Entirely. Supply chain resilience is no longer just a corporate buzzword. It's a top national security objective.
Oh, wow.
When you see the U.S. or European nations pouring billions into domestic semiconductor manufacturing, that is a direct, expensive hedge against international instability. They're willing to pay more to guarantee they have the chips they need, just in case a global shipping lane shuts down.
And for you listening right now, this isn't just abstract Wall Street theory. This hedging strategy is exactly why the laptop you buy next year might be manufactured closer to home, why your cloud storage subscription might go up to cover energy costs, and why your local utility bill is quietly restructuring.
Yeah, the cost of resilience gets passed down the chain. And you can see this tension reflected perfectly in the financial markets outlined in our source material. Bitcoin continues to hold its trading range, acting as a sort of decentralized, borderless asset for those looking outside traditional banking.
Right.
But at the same time, gold, which has been the ultimate historical safe haven for thousands of years, remains highly elevated.
Interesting.
The market is essentially saying, we believe in this high-tech digital future, but we're keeping our heavy armor on while we build it.
We are keeping our heavy armor on. I love that. I think that perfectly bridges the gap between the macro geopolitics and the micro individual level, because the final section of our source material dives into how this era of execution is trickling down to human health, science, and our actual daily life.
It really is.
And I have to admit, the scientific momentum highlighted here is staggering.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
We are seeing AI actively accelerating research across disciplines that used to take decades of trial and error. For example, the brief mentions NASA using advanced models for its ongoing Artemis mission planning.
Right, the moon missions.
Exactly. When you are planning a lunar base or future Mars exploration, you are dealing with millions of variables: orbital trajectories, life support tolerances, fuel efficiency. AI models can simulate all of those variables simultaneously to find the safest path.
And the brief also mentions fusion energy maintaining steady momentum. I read recently that one of the biggest hurdles in fusion was that the superheated plasma would become unstable and collapse the reaction.
Yeah, that's been a huge roadblock.
But now they're using AI to predict those magnetic disruptions milliseconds before they happen, adjusting the magnetic fields in real time to hold the artificial sun stable. It's not just crunching numbers, it's actively controlling the physics.
Exactly. The mechanism of discovery itself has been upgraded. And nowhere is that more evident or more personal than in healthcare.
Oh, totally.
AI-assisted diagnostics are seeing much broader adoption. We're moving deeply into precision medicine.
Which, just to clarify for everyone listening, means moving away from the one-size-fits-all approach to medicine. Instead of giving everyone the same blood pressure pill and hoping it works, precision medicine uses AI to analyze a patient's specific genomic data to predict exactly which treatment will be most effective for their unique biology.
Precisely. We are seeing AI actively assisting in complex drug discovery, finding protein structures for new cancer therapies in months rather than years. Even remote patient monitoring is expanding.
Like wearable devices?
Yeah, wearables that stream real-time biometric data to AI agents that alert a doctor only when something actually looks wrong.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Sure.
We're talking about connecting our actual heartbeats and genomic data to the cloud. Doesn't that introduce a terrifying new level of vulnerability?
It does, and the sources don't shy away from that at all. Healthcare cybersecurity is listed as a top strategic priority right now. Think about it. If a hospital's IT network goes down today, they can still somewhat operate on paper.
Barely, but yeah.
Right. But if an AI-assisted diagnostic system is compromised,
Yeah.
or if genomic data is altered by a malicious actor, that isn't just a financial data breach. That is an immediate, catastrophic threat to human life.
Which brings up a really stark contrast in our source material that I want to dig into. We are using AI to discover cancer drugs and plan trips to Mars. But at the exact same time, state governments are suing these AI companies because they don't trust their foundational safety guardrails.
Yeah, it's a huge paradox.
The Daily Tech Reader references the fact that in June 2026, Florida became the first state to officially sue OpenAI over alleged safety failures. We're trusting the tech with our lives, but bringing it to court at the same time. Has innovation just fundamentally outpaced our ability to regulate it safely?
This raises an important question about the speed of governance. Yes, the technology has moved much faster than the traditional legal framework. Medical AI regulation is currently scrambling to keep up with the sheer pace of biotechnology and software development. But I would argue that this tension, the lawsuits, the intense cybersecurity focus, the regulatory scrutiny, is actually a very healthy, necessary part of the execution era we talked about at the beginning.
Wait, how is a massive lawsuit healthy for innovation?
Because this is society actively figuring out the rules of the road for a new utility. When the first automobiles were invented, there were no stop signs, no speed limits, and no liability laws.
It was just chaos.
Complete chaos. People got hurt, lawsuits happened, and then we built the regulatory infrastructure of the road. That is what is happening right now with AI.
Okay, I see what you mean.
The lawsuits and the friction are proof that AI is no longer a toy. You don't sue a toy. You sue a piece of critical infrastructure that failed to meet societal safety standards.
Wow, okay, that completely flips my perspective. The legal friction isn't slowing down the future, it's the actual process of installing it safely. It's the building of the guardrails in real time.
Exactly.
Which is why, going back to our very first point, human oversight is the most in-demand skill right now. We aren't just letting these systems run wild in hospitals and power grids. We are putting a human in the loop to hold the leash.
Precisely. The next decade isn't about the artificial intelligence itself. It is about how human beings govern, secure, and integrate that intelligence into the physical world.
So, to bring this all together, as you, our listener, finish unpacking your bags from the July 4th weekend and prepare your alarm for Monday morning, you're stepping back into a world that has fundamentally shifted its posture.
It really has.
We're no longer waiting for the sci-fi future to arrive. We're doing the hard, heavy, and honestly incredibly messy work of physically installing it. AI has become the core indoor plumbing powering our daily workflows. It is physically straining our power grids to the point of requiring brand new nuclear policies.
Yeah.
And it is reshaping everything from global supply chains and diplomatic strategies to how your doctor diagnoses a seasonal illness.
And that profound transition from a flashy novelty to an essential invisible utility leaves us with something critical to consider.
What's that?
Well, over the last century, we've built robust protocols for what happens when our physical infrastructure fails. If there's a massive power outage, we know what to do. Hospitals have backup generators, cities have emergency protocols.
Right, we have systems for that.
But if AI is rapidly becoming as fundamental to our daily lives as electricity, deeply integrated into our enterprise workflows, our supply chain logistics, and our medical diagnostics, what happens when a society heavily reliant on integrated AI agents experiences its first major intelligence blackout?
Oh, wow. An intelligence blackout.
Yeah. If AI is truly the new grid, are we prepared for the day that grid inevitably goes down? We have backup power, but do we have backup intelligence?
That is a deeply provocative thought and definitely one that will stick with you on the commute tomorrow morning. How dependent have we already become on the systems running quietly in the background? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the forces shaping our world today. Stay curious, keep questioning the changing landscape around you, and we will catch you next time.